Boy, would I've been hanging around my
Good
life.
evening, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 7:03. Could I please get a roll call? No, right?
Jack Sapia,
Attending.
John Woodward.
Yep.
Kristen Savage.
Here.
Katie Knudsen.
Here.
Donna Manthorn.
Here.
Mark Sherwood.
Here.
Kim McCormick.
Here.
Ray Woodward. And Paula Campbell.
He's absent. He's excused. All right, if everybody could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes. Do we have some non-public minutes too?
We do.
Okay, so first we're gonna do the public ones and then we'll do the non. We've got two sets. We got the February 1st and then the February 8th. I believe is the deliberative. Yeah, I wasn't there.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of February 1st.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Second by Kristen. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstain. 7-0-1. All right, and then we also have the 2-8, which is the deliberative. We didn't meet after this? Because nothing changed. Do we have to accept this?
Surprisingly.
Wait a minute. Or was it? Was it different? Do we have to approve them? Remember.
Which one?
Deliberative session? The deliberative session ones.
I don't think so.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think we
That's
do.
what I'm like, I don't
That's
think we do.
I've never,
Well, if we do, we can always come back to it, so. Okay. So that's. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the 2-8 meeting minutes? Okay. All right, you do have non-public meeting minutes in front of you for February 1st. I'll make a motion to accept the non-public minutes of February 1st, 2024 as written. There's a motion, have a second?
Second.
Second by Dawn. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained.
Oh, is it approved? Yeah, I would be a little slow.
7-0-1. If you could, please pass these over. Student, staff, and family share.
Tonight we have a presentation from some high school students and high school staff. Mr. Vacarezza, are you going to make an introduction or is it going to be Mr. Broad? All right.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight, Mr. Broad, Lou Broad, who is a phenomenal teacher at Timberlane Regional High School. I know a lot of people also know he's the TTA president, but he is first and foremost a phenomenal teacher. And a couple months back, he said he had some really great things that his students were doing in his class. And he said he asked maybe, if we could take the opportunity to have them talk about it, present, and, give you guys a little bit of insight of some of the amazing things they're doing in this class. So I'm not gonna talk at all, I'm gonna turn it over to him, Lou Broad. Thank you.
Welcome, Lou.
Don't get those kind of applause.
Most behind. Come on.
There we go. Awesome, thank you. Thank you. I have students here from my integrated physics and chemistry class, which is a very unique class. It's chemistry and physics all year long. It's a double block. We meet every single day for 90 minutes. We do physics in the fall, chemistry in the spring, and there is an awful lot, tremendous amount of planned overlap, mostly in how science works, methods of science and so forth. The project we're presenting tonight is the concluding project of the physics portion, where students attempted to model real-world objects, in this case, automobiles, using miniatures. And I'm going to let them tell you some more. So come on up.
All of you good standing, or do you want chairs?
Go ahead.
Alrighty, so we investigated the forces on cars. So two forces dominate a car in motion. The force of the engine in the forward direction and drag as well, or wind resistance, acting in the opposite direction. So the engine accelerates the car forward, but as velocity increases, the drag force in the opposite direction actually increases as well. At some point, the backwards drag force reaches the same value as the forward force, and the forces come into what's called equilibrium. So at this point, the car will reach a maximum speed called terminal velocity or top speed.
The drag factors include size and shape of the car, which is quantified as a coefficient of drag. A drag coefficient less than 1 is considered streamlined, whereas a factor of more than 3 is not very streamlined. And placing a car into a wind tunnel is the best way to measure this drag force.
So instead of making the car move through air, a wind tunnel makes the air go past the car. Large wind tunnels are really expensive, so we made one out of PVC pipe and powered by a leaf blower, which costed under $100. Our goal was to test if this variable system could model a real world car.
Each student or team of students chose a matchbox car. We researched the car to find out the history, specifications, and performance information when the car was measured in the wind tunnel.
The drag data on the Matchbox car was scaled up and calculated on a spreadsheet to determine the theoretical performance of the car. The model from the wind tunnel was compared to the information about the real car.
Awesome. They're going to present on different cars that they researched. And why don't we do the Batmobile first?
Okay. So our car was the 1966 television Batmobile, which is both a real car and a fictional car. So the studio car was built from a 1955 concept car called a Ford Futura. It had 300 horsepower engine, which is like 225,000 watts. This car is actually now very streamlined with a drag coefficient of 4.2. Our results were very close at much less than 10% of coefficient difference, We calculated top speed of 85 when the real car goes 80, so we were very close with our wind tunnel results.
However, the TV studio Batmobile was purposely reduced to 40 miles per hour for safety reasons. The fictional 1966 Batmobile is supposed to have a 10,000 horsepower atomic-powered engine, and our model gave a top speed of 270 miles per hour, whereas it was close to the fictional of 300 miles per hour.
Cool. Why don't we do the 34
Alright.
Chevy Coupe?
So my name's Abby. So this is my 34 Chevy Master Coupe. It had about 87 horsepower, also known as 65,000 watts. So cars in the 1930s were not very streamlined, so this car had a drag coefficient of around 3.3. My model showed a top speed of around 65 miles per hour, which was less than the published 75, 80 mile per hour that you see online and on research. However, this model allowed us to see a correctable flaw in the wind tunnel design, which will be fixed next year. So the force sensor used in the wind tunnel had a touchpad that interferes with the drag reading for a certain car design, such as the 34 Chevy, which has an extended boot at the back of the car. So next year, a smaller, more needle-like touch point will be used.
Corvette.
My car was a 1967 Corvette. The Corvette was a revolutionary spin on the classic sport car combining performance and comfort, including air conditioning, which was revolutionary for the time. The Corvette was extremely streamlined as it was designed as an upside-down flight wing, which allowed the car to get pushed towards the ground rather than lifting it up. The advertised top speed of top-end versions of the car was 143 miles an hour, which completely agrees with my predicted speed of 145 miles an hour.
And finally, the Army Jeep.
I'm Brooke. I had the 1943 Willys Army Jeep, which was most often listed as one of the most important tools in World War II, as President Eisenhower called it, one of the 3 most decisive vehicles that helped win the war. It was designed to be small, efficient, rugged, and flexible in its versatilities and how it was used. At only 55 horsepower or 41,000 watts, the 52-to-1 scale model gave a drag factor of 1.99. And the real Jeep is reported to go 65 miles per hour, and my calculations using the wind tunnel showed it to be 60 miles per hour, so it's pretty accurate.
And that's Ella, Taylor, Abby, Sean, and Brooke.
I was gonna ask them to introduce themselves. I only heard Abby.
They were supposed to.
A for effort.
So can I ask what grade they're all in?
They,
was gonna be me.
most of them they're all sophomores.
Yeah.
Everyone's a sophomore. It's a combined class, juniors, sophomores, occasionally we have a senior in there.
Pretty impressive for sophomores.
Yes,
Yeah, agreed.
yes.
For anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Wow, that's great.
This is the 5th year I've done this project. This crew did the best job ever. We found ways to improve it, and I keep collecting more and more cars. I have 40 of them now, and I collect really cool ones. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Could you do the Back to the Future DeLorean?
Oh.
Can we find the
Make
match
requests.
for me? Yes.
What was your all's favorite part to do the part of this project? What was your favorite part?
I think like seeing like how like it does relate to the real world and like you can find like it through like a smaller like model.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not one that likes research, but I think like finding the research, and especially where mine has like a historical value and piece to it, is pretty cool.
I think being able to be done with the project overall and like looking at the work we did was the most like satisfying part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not one who knows a lot about cars, but I thought that it was very insightful and I could learn a lot of new information from it.
After this project and during, did any of you look at the cars that your parents are driving and a little bit different?
I don't know
No?
if I did actually, but I could.
Sounds like the next assignment, Mr. Brown.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
and
you
it's
for
very
coming.
impressive. Thank
Very
you.
impressive. Very cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Delegates and individuals. Bree?
Hello, thank you, good evening. I just wanted to be on this side of the table this evening because I'm here as a mother. This is the second year in a row Danville Elementary has flagged for lead in their waters. 4 sinks in the elementary school had it this year. All of them have been deemed, 3 of them I think is hand wash only and 1 of them is not usable. Correct. 2 of them are in the kitchen. My concern is the one by the classroom. You can't tell me kindergartners can actually read and know to just wash their hands, and I'm looking for some type of action with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bree.
Thank you.
Do we have any other delegates or individuals? Can I get a motion to move the last 28 minutes of delegates and individuals to the end of the meeting? So moved. Got a second? Second. Motion made by Kristen, seconded by Shauna. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. Okay. Student rep.
Nice to be back halfway through the third quarter of the school year. We are chugging along.
We are down
It's like
I don't
halfway
wanna
through the
emphasize
third
the
quarter.
culture.
Yes.
Nobody's counting.
Max still here? Is he hearing this?
He is. Anyways, so returning from break, Sandown Central and Atkinson Academy students are feeling well rested and they're ready to learn. Before break, Pollard and Central celebrated the 100th day of school, and this consisted of various festivities and fun activities. At Sandown North, Senator Bill Gannon joined their all-school meeting last Friday to present essay awards to 3 fourth grade students. The essay topic addressed their visit to the State House. Read Across America begins this week at Sandown North. Students will be counting minutes read at home for the month of March, and the school goal will be to collectively read 120,000 minutes. North is also excited to have guest readers join them to read their favorite books to students. Danville's Student Council coordinated a warmth drive in January and February. A total of 600 new and gently used items were donated to a local organization that will get them to families in need. The Danville Student Council also planned a whole school assembly in honor of the 100th day of school. This was held on February 7th. They were able to recognize 4 students with Good Citizen Awards, and the staff and students completed 100 total exercise movements together. Additionally, the Student Council encouraged students to dress like they were 100 years old. Pollard had a kindergarten information night tonight, and this went from 6 to 7. In addition, there was a district pre-K there will be a district pre-K information night on April 5th at TLC. This will go from 6 to 7. Second grade play preparations are underway at Pollard. I remember being in this 9 years ago. So the play is scheduled to be held on March 14th from 7 to 8 at the PAC. Over at the middle school, 6th grade graders got to participate in a virtual Q&A with author Kelly Yang about her new book around the dangers of social media. The 7th grade was visited by a Holocaust survivor as part of their unit on World War II in Nazi Germany. And 8th graders will start going around the high school next week in small groups to be given a tour by Mr. Vaccarezza, who's here tonight, as a part of the ongoing events to help their transition to the high school next fall. And this Saturday, Project Hope's Strut for a Cure will be held, and tickets are $5. Make sure to bring cash for your entry ticket and raffle tickets, as Strut for a Cure is a cash-only event. Doors will open at 5, and the show will be starting at 6 in the high school cafeteria and gymnasium. This show raises awareness of cancer and supports those impacted. This will be a very fun event, and the work of all the students, as well as Miss Bird and Mrs. Bell, will be shown. Parent-teacher conferences will be held on March 14th at the high school. The junior semi-formal will be held on Saturday, March 16th from 6 to 9 in the high school caf. There will be no tickets sold at the door. The high school will be hosting the New Hampshire Association of Student Councils conference on Tuesday, March 19th. Numerous delegations from student councils in New Hampshire will be joining to hear from guest speakers and participate in teamwork workshops. A reminder that there will be a district-wide professional development day on Friday, March 15th. And to conclude, I know we got back, but April vacation is the 22nd. Thank you guys.
There's also a Friday off in between.
Yeah, there's Friday off
There's
next
a
week.
Friday off and that's,
Yes,
yeah. And what part were you in the second grade play?
I was like the child. I had one line. It was great.
What was the line?
I like introduced the flower act. It was like, I was like, here they are, and that was it. Yeah.
But you participated.
Participated. Very much so.
How does your garden grow?
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
I have one son in it, one that wasn't able to be in it because it was the COVID year. Sorry to bring that up, people.
My daughter was in it too. It was great. It's so funny.
It's so cute. It's great.
Okay, thank you very much. And I believe we're gonna move, if everyone's okay with it, we're gonna move personnel report up just real quick because I believe we have someone in attendance.
We do.
We'll let Justin take over a minute.
So Sandown North, Laura Yisick, the principal, is there, and she'd like to come up and introduce who we're going to be recommending for hire to start on July 1 as the new assistant principal at Sandown North Elementary School.
Awesome. Welcome.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
We are super excited to introduce Mark Hamill to you as the next assistant principal at Sandown North. We started interviews back in mid-January. We interviewed 8 candidates for the position, and from the get-go, Mark really stood out as a great candidate, strong candidate for this position. Mark comes to us with a lot of experience, 20+ years teaching 2nd and 3rd grade. So we're kindred spirits because those are the grades that I taught, which coincidentally. So he comes to us with that teaching experience, but also a lot of great leadership opportunities, which is going to be a great fit for our school. He had led the mentor-mentee development of a program for their district. You worked on the evaluation model, the teacher effectiveness and evaluation model. And outside of school, Mark was a camp director for the Boy Scouts. And so that leadership experience, I think, will transfer over into an assistant principal position at our school. It'd be a great advantage and benefit to that. And personality-wise, Mark stood out as someone with a great sense of humor, likes to have a lot of fun, passionate about teaching and learning, and the connection, the importance of the connection with students and staff and families just resonated through his stories that he shared with us and his experiences. So we are super excited to have him at Sandown North. Can't wait to get started, and it's going to be a great asset for our school and community. Great.
Excellent.
Welcome aboard, Mark.
Nice to meet you.
Mark, could I put you on the spot like right away?
You sure can.
We've done a lot of talking as a district about hiring and what that process looks like for us, and you just went through the process that we have. So I think the board, I'm interested in some of your feedback about that process, about things that you found useful for it, or things that you found of value, or things that you'd want us to think about like in the future in terms of hiring process.
Well, one of the things I really liked is every time you apply for a job, you get the generic email back to you that says, "Oh, great, here's your time slot figured out." Here, when I applied, I get the email back, or I get the phone call, I think first, and the phone call, asking to develop a video of who I am, what I stand for, what I think about, and how I want to, portray what's going to happen next in my next steps. And so when you do that, and you had 72 hours to do it, you really think real quick, and you have to figure out how to do all of it, and that's kind of what education is all about. You got to do it quick and on your feet, and you have to adapt and change. And so I really like that. And then the next step of it, when you sit down for the interview, it is not a fearful. Well, maybe not for me, I guess it wasn't. It's not a fearful group that's sitting in front of you. You got, they have their papers, and that they are all prepared, and they know what they're going to talk about and the questions. But it's not really a question, direct question, direct answer, direct question, direct answer. It's a conversation. And so the conversation makes you feel comfortable, and you can talk about whatever you need to talk about, and you just instantly build those bonds. And I felt good, and I enjoyed it. And in the second round of interviews, when you come back in for that, sometimes you think about who's going to sit in the second interview, and you start to sweat a little bit who it could be. But again, as you went into that conversation, you went into the room, it was almost like a family. It was knit, it was easy, it was a great conversation. So it was easy to do and friendly and just exciting. And so when you leave the interviews, honestly, I haven't spent 21 years in second and third grade. So, I think back to 21 years ago when I did the circuit for a teacher job, and you leave the interview and you're like, "Oh, blew that one." Or but when I walked out after talking with Laura, I was like, "All right, that was awesome." And then Laura calls me 24 hours later, and I was like, "All right, that was even better." So it was very comfortable and enjoyable. And the second one, they also gave me a scenario, something to prepare for. I think 72 hours or 48 hours, I think it was, something like that. It might have been. So it's pretty quick. So, thinking about those things and getting it down and doing it is easy and enjoyable. And it was, felt good.
I appreciate you sharing that feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, again, welcome aboard.
Thank
Happy
you.
to have you.
Do you have anything else you want to say, or any questions for us, or you good?
I'm pretty good. I'm excited. I look forward to Sandown North with Laura and having a great time, and I get to know the community. And over vacation, I got to go in and go for a tour of the building with her, and the juice is already stirring. And I definitely want to finish this year with my current students, and I have a student teacher, and My colleague that's across the hall from me, I had her in second grade, so I wanna finish that with her to get her so she's ready to be successful. She's gonna take the reins next year, which is exciting, and she's really unhappy that I'm leaving, but she's also very excited. So, and I'm very excited to be. So, it should be great.
Great. Welcome aboard.
Welcome. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion for the professional nomination of Mark Hamill as the assistant principal at Sandown North Elementary.
Love to second that.
Got a motion by Sean, a second by Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained? Welcome aboard.
You have a lot of ties like that?
All right. Well, 21 years. I got a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Care. Right.
Do you want to do the other?
Yeah, Sean, just go ahead and do the nominations.
Oh, okay.
We'll just go ahead and get that out of the way.
Perfect. I can do that.
Thank you.
I'd like to make the professional nomination for Brian Hernandez, special education teacher at Timberlane Regional High School, and Donald Pierce, special education teacher, Timberlane Regional High School.
Have a motion to have a second? Second. Second by Kim. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained. All right. Thank you, guys. Welcome aboard. All right. First thing on the agenda is the resolution to authorize financing for phase 2 of the lease. So this is something that the board, we have already talked about. We've already approved. We've had plenty of presentations about this. All this is just authorizing them to be able to spend $9,550,184 for the phase 2. And then if someone wants to read, the motion is, I move that the resolution entitled Resolution to Authorize $9,550,184 as Phase 2 of lease purchase financing of energy savings equipment and associated building improvements at district facilities be approved in form presented to this meeting, and then an attested copy of said resolution be included with the minutes of this meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Jack. Do I have a second? Second by Mark. Any discussion? Yes, Bree, go ahead.
Does it matter all the results as follows when there's just a spelling of bank, misspelling of bank? Number 2. I didn't know if that matters.
We're at on 2.
Bank of
Parentheses
America.
after designee.
Bank of America, right? The second line in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Know if that mattered. It is C.
The BANZ? Yep. Okay,
Oh,
okay. Cool. Thank you, Maria.
But it's spelled two different ways in
It
this, one with a
That's-
K, one with a C.
Yes.
Okay, let me reach out because I
Yeah.
Yeah, we just want to make, yeah.
I just didn't know if it mattered.
They said it wasn't in government.
Okay. Yes, Jack.
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to say about this is there's a ton of heavy lifting going on in this phase.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff that's long overdue. The windows, the HVAC units, so, and it's gone, I think, wonderfully, frankly. So.
Any other discussion on this? I know Maria's gonna check the technicality, but that can be fixed, but is there any other discussion on this? All right, all those in favor? Opposed and abstained. All right, we do have to sign this. I'm gonna sign it, Kristen will sign it, and then I'll pass it around. Just let them sign it and I'll pack it back this way. All right, while everyone is signing that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next item, which is youth and government overnight travel. Do we have someone presenting on this one?
Happy to speak to it.
Or is
I know, Mark.
Mark
Mark up and down.
Either way, presenting. I'm like,
He's happy to. I can present on this. Good evening.
Good evening.
In your packets, I believe you have an executive summary asking for permission for two. They're connected, but they're two separate trips in a way. Youth and government overnight trips. So one is occurring on April 11th and 12th. And that is for 2 students who have been invited to attend this special training for leadership. And then the rest of the Youth and Government Model Legislator Program is happening the following 2 days, the 13th and 14th. So they are overnight trips, so per board policy, we just need to get them approved at this, by the board.
I'll make a motion, I approve the 2 overnight trips, the Youth and Government James O'Neill Leadership Training and the Youth and Government Model Legislature Program.
Got a motion by Kristen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Shauna. Any discussion?
These kids, they seem like the cream rose to the top. I mean, is this like a special thing for the leadership group?
Every year, we send students to this.
Right.
You mean for those two?
Those two, it
for
seems
those
like
two,
it's like a cut above.
That is, those
Okay.
are some students that have excelled.
Kudos.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed and abstained?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great. Set graduation date.
Set the graduation date. So in your packets is kind of the tentative timeline and working with the high school about what they've kind of mapped out. As so many of you guys know, there's so much that happens at the high school toward the end of the year, and it all kind of culminates in that graduation. So we feel really confident that we're at a place where we're counting instructional hours. We've had 2 called snow days so far. Our threshold is much higher than that. Both Sandy and I feel no reason that we're going to be moving the student days at all toward the end of the year. We're going to be working with the staff and build some professional development time at the end of the year for them. But in terms of getting stuff set with families and allow the high school to move forward and secure all the equipment and contracts they have for these pieces, we'd really like the board to consider setting a graduation date on June 8th, tonight at this meeting, so all the planning and preparations can continue to take place.
I'll make a motion that we approve the June 8th, 2024 date as graduation for the class of 2024.
The motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Shauna, too slow to mark. Any other discussion on this? All right, all those for? It's just word bond. Against and opposed. Okay, thank you. And June 8th will be the day. All right, Annual 2023 annual report.
So the annual report is in your packet for review. Based on our latest review and some input from the board here, there are a few errors in there that we want to point out tonight. They'll be corrected and published on the website. And if we need to do any reprinting for citizens, we can certainly do that. Maria, I was hoping that do you have correct numbers to read out tonight?
Yes.
So it was an error on the Excel spreadsheet that this gets generated to. It was actually pulling the numbers for the warrant articles for fiscal year 2025 warrant articles under the wrong cells. The correct numbers, the correct historical numbers for Danville are on year 2019, $8,912,153. On 2020, $8,413,976. On 2021, $8,730,795. On 2022, $8,693,719. And on 2023, $11,727,139.
Thanks, Maria, very much.
Make sure that
Thank you.
that's
And where at on the website can this be found? Because I know sometimes our school website's not the best for user-friendly for people to find information. Where can people
I
find
would
this?
imagine, is Ken here?
Yeah,
He was.
No. It's there's a page that's dedicated solely to warrants and election and balloting,
Okay.
right? I mean, it's got everything on there.
It's under the annual report under the board document. Yeah, it's
Under
under
board?
the school board and then all documents.
Okay.
And there's a section there for annual reports.
So school board and then documents and then annual reports. Okay.
And in the annual report, not only is all the number stuff, but you also get to read all the text and language from the leadership in the district about where things kind of stand in those individual departments, which is helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Does anybody have any questions about the annual report? Okay, all right. Moving on, facilities update.
Nothing going on in facilities, right, Carl?
Snoozing my way through the year.
Right?
It's a very extensive report. I hope you've had a chance to read it. If there's any questions, feel free to ask and I'll answer them to the best of my ability.
Shauna?
Carl, at the last facilities update, I connected with you about the Pollard boiler stuff for the heat.
Yes,
Do we have an update on that?
I can't remember what we discussed, I'm
There
sorry.
was some heat problems, some kind of zoning thing, some of the classrooms were really cold.
They seem to be working now, yes.
There was daily checks for temperatures and things.
I just wanna.
I don't wanna jinx
I
it.
do wanna address those boilers. Although they are only 5 years old, they are not good. I'm leaning toward at some point after we get all the other buildings caught up, getting rid of those boilers as soon as possible, cause they have been nothing but the bane of my existence, it seems like.
What makes them not good? Are they just not?
We've lost computer boards on them, we've lost on several occasions. We've lost modules of them. Sorry.
You're fine.
My blood sugar's going up. I cannot shut that alarm off, unfortunately. So yeah, it's been one malady after another with those things, to the point we had to replace the piping in a section of the building because so much corrosion from inside the boilers was making its way through the system. It's just been one issue after another over there with those.
And you might not know this question tonight, but have you heard of, like, has there been any recalls on these boilers or anything like that, or other?
The only thing I've heard is there wasn't gonna be much support from the manufacturer anymore.
Mark, go ahead.
I'm sure you've looked into this. Is there any sort of warranty with them or?
1 year.
Oh,
1 year,
no.
awesome. Okay. That was sarcasm font for anybody that.
This lends to reason why when I got here, we decided to go with a better plan instead of replacing in kind and upgrading without full designs. We decided to bring EEI on. They have a complete engineering department. They engineer the system from top to bottom to make sure that everything that we're doing is going to work, even, and it's holistic throughout the system instead of let's just throw a boiler in here or boiler in there. It's really been it's a great collaboration with what we do with EEI, and I really appreciate their help. Thank you, Chris. So that's just one of the things I just wanted to bring forward. As of right now, the boilers are running, the building is warm, and thank you very much.
And thank you for answering. I meant to email you to ask you before, but then I
Again,
saw it on the agenda, but then I didn't see it in your report, so I just wanted to connect with you because I know we had talked about it at the last meeting. So thank you for the information and update, and sorry if I jinxed it.
Cross our fingers. Jack, go ahead.
It's warm right now.
I'm just gonna ask the administration, where it says EEI had a meeting with Jack Sapie to ensure he was okay with the CMU, it's more of a collaboration. It wasn't, I can't authorize anything. But it's like, Jack, what's your advice? What do you think about this? Just because of my background, I don't approve anything, and I was afraid that it may read that way. So
Okay.
you just make that little change, I'd be appreciative. It was a collaboration.
Does anybody else have any other, Bree? Yeah?
I just wanted to thank EEI for applying for the grant on our behalf with Phase 3 of the Belfry. That's very thoughtful.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
It's another thing, they have a whole department of grant writers, so they help us out with all that. They get us the rebates for all the lighting projects and everything. They do all the legwork in that. And it takes a lot off my plate.
Speaking
Yeah, Jack, go ahead.
Speaking of grant money, when it comes to the, what is it, PFOAs?
Yes, PFAS.
PFAS, there is grant money in the state of New Hampshire available in loan money. I know that Atkinson got a bunch of it on the front end of things, so it may bear looking into. I think most of that grant money may be used up, but there's loan money, I don't think that's good, but if there's anything left, most certainly, we should look into that.
Justin, can you help look into that?
Yes, I can.
Does anybody have any other questions for Carl about facilities? Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll direct this to the superintendent, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Let me just find it here, under the grass cutting. Putting that out to RFP. We had requested for that to go to RFP last year. It didn't. A little bit perplexed by that, but
You're kind of stealing the thunder of my admin report. But I'm happy to answer.
No, we can, I can't wait to hear from you.
Okay, great. We'll defer.
We'll defer.
Any other questions for Carl? Thank you.
I have to say, I went out back with my camera, took a bunch of pictures of the huge enlarged science pond there. It's amazing. I think we'll have water for the next couple 100 years.
Can we get some numbers on diving boards?
They were going after, it looks really like you could actually make that an attractive area.
Yeah.
That's the plan. You should have a picnic out there when you're all done.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna do that. There are steep banks, so
Yeah,
it's still gonna be blocked off.
I figured that you'd probably gate that somehow, so.
It's a good place for the bass fishing team to practice.
Yeah, it is.
Stock that picture.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Carl, and thank you for your extensive summaries. It's a lot of information. It's very appreciated.
There's a lot of stuff.
Great
going on.
detail.
There is.
Thank you.
Are you all still taking pictures of your projects and putting them up on the, are you? Awesome, good, thank you.
It's on a little down here on the main page, so you just have to click on it and it's got all the projects listed and before, after pictures, stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, Martin.
What is that under again? I visited like 3 or 4.
So it's on the main page, right here.
Bottom right corner.
So technical.
Yeah. It says construction projects updates.
Is the third item on the right side?
There's like 3 bullets over there, there's 3 blocks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any of the listeners are listening and want to check out some of the projects, main page, bottom right corner.
Third down.
Third down. All right, thank you so much. And then next on the list is CIP projects and funding. Yeah, I was like,
So for fiscal year 2024, which is the current year, the school board had approved the first set of the projects on the summary. That was about $1 million of projects approved. We were holding off to see because we have so much going on to see what other capacity we have for additional projects. We met with the construction committee and the CIP, and the second part of the summary is the recommendations that came out from the committee to present to you guys for the second part of the year and to get them done get them done or encumber the funds for next year, but to contract. Go forward with those projects.
okay, so the top one we've already approved, but then the bottom
Those are
one,
already in progress.
okay, but then the bottom ones are, you all went back, and where is this money coming from? Is it for this?
Is the 1.8 million
Okay.
on the capital?
Okay, Jack, yes.
For next year,
No, this current
this year. So what I'd like to do is we have a construction committee meeting on Monday. There are some other things I think that I would like to address. So what I'd like to do is bring this to that construction meeting and have them kind of filter through this with some of the other concerns. I mean, some of the wall concerns I have in that, because we have a finite amount of resources. And I like to make sure that.
But you're stating that this
It's
came from construction.
From that committee, yeah. We already discussed this.
I think we need to I think we just would like to relook at it on Monday. I personally sat in that the last meeting, and I don't remember seeing any of this, to be honest with you. Maybe the cabinet I don't even remember the cabinet replacement coming from the construction committee. We talked about this at the construction committee.
We talked about summer, so we did talk about the canopy, we did talk about.
The canopy, but not very long. We didn't talk about the JV baseball field. We typically don't talk about items like paving at those meetings. And I'm not questioning the things here. I'm questioning things that we wanna do in lieu of these things, and I think I pointed one out to you the other day, Mark, that are concerns of mine from a structural and long-term benefit to the district kind of situation. So, I mean, if we wait a week, I don't think that affects anything here moving forward. That would be my recommendation. I mean, I think it's bears to have an extra set of eyes look at this.
In your opinion, is there anything on here that is time sensitive that would be, perhaps jeopardized by waiting a week that we should direct our attention to?
Not really. No, sir.
Free.
I mean, the
Okay, fine.
the JV baseball field, if we wait a month, it's gonna be into baseball season. I'd really like to get going on that, but other than that.
Wait, it's
Yeah,
Bree.
yeah, yeah.
Bree. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, the football field lighting upgrade, do you know roughly how much savings that would be? Cause it sounded like it would go to LED.
It would go to LED, the savings would be more in our maintenance cost of it because it comes with 20 years or 15 to 20 years of service that they take care of every repair on it. Like right now, we have 2 lights out, it'll cost us probably a good $2,000 to $5,000 just to get those 2 lights fixed because of how high they are. Once they do it, they own everything, number one. Number two, it will save maintenance, it will save probably, I think it was 25, I have a whole list at home back at the office, I think it's like roughly $25,000 over the next 20 years. It's not much savings, it's the savings and the maintenance that's gonna happen. The other thing is, it's got a cool thing called Showtime on it. The lights actually flash. You can enable flash when you get a touchdown, and it also has red LEDs that shine on the student section when we're in the red zone, so it shines the whole section red. So it's just it's a little added thing that will help with this, help for the kids. It's stuff that a lot of the stuff I do, the kids don't see. They'll see the track, they'll see the tennis courts, and they'll see these lights, and that's pretty much it that I do. So everything else is hidden within the bellies of the buildings or on the roofs.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Wait, Justin and then Jack.
And talking to Angelo as well, the athletic director here, we're also looking for opportunities to expand the number of kids that get to play or participate under the lights. Because we got the new track stuff coming, they're gonna need that stuff kind of when the sun starts to set. There's some other groups that we're thinking about being able to expose them to that type of experience. It also opens up the possibility of doing some cool nighttime activities there as communities as well. So there's some benefit to those side of things too.
Because you can shut the lights off and turn them right back on. So it's not like the lights you have now, you shut them off and it takes 5 hours for them to turn back on.
Jack and then Mark.
So I agree that the baseball field needs to be addressed, the scope of work. I did not realize the sinkholes out in the outfield were they're dangerous. I don't think you can play on that field, quite frankly, in any type of safe way. But what I'd like to know is what the scope of work is. And my simple mind says, put down 40 yards of gravel and loam and put sod down on top of it and grade that off where those sinkholes are. But I'm not understanding what's going on underneath makes it difficult for me to have any type, I don't want to do the whole base. I like to fix what is, I keep saying it over and over again. Let's fix what is broken. Let's make it playable. Let's get to those things that are most urgent. That we have I think we have 5 teams. We have 2 fields. The math doesn't work. And so if you lose that second field, you're really up the creek.
Yeah, and I think the position we're in right now is we can't be in a position to lose that field.
That's right.
And because we had noticed the same things that you had kind of just cited about some sinkholes out there, we had a company come in and do some surveying around the places, and I've got a ton of pictures around what has happened to the grounds out there. There are stumps underground that I can see very clearly in those pictures. And because of that, the soil does not collect around as it should, and it's pooling water. And then it just creates more erosion that's happening there. So there's significant work to be done out there if we want to be able to use that field.
Can we get it done in time for the season?
Yep, we can. We're gonna hope, but we have to start soon. We're gonna be digging the area about 75 by 150 feet long. There's actually 2 swaths where somebody buried stumps at some point and they're all rotting now. And each year they just rot some more. That's why it keeps sinking. It's actually sunk probably a good 2 feet since I've been here.
And the last thing I'd add is I know there's a concern at the board level around what DES has designated that area as, and we've got to call into them there to get that clarification before you start. Do you have an answer?
I did talk to DES today. They said I looked, it's on Wikipedia that the high school was built near a landfill. DES has it as just a landfill that's never been capped, never been lined. They don't really know what's in it. They say it's small. They said if we run into trash down there, then we'd have to deal with it at that point. But they don't think anything's dangerous is down there. What we're seeing is just a stump dump. And that's,
do you recall who you spoke to there?
Yep. I got his name. Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, it's somewhere around here.
Not Angela?
No, it was a gentleman on my recent phone calls.
So my only concern, while Carl's looking for that, my only concern is if we should go down there and you start pulling out the stumps, which I was told is a solid waste site, which whatever that means. But if it is stumps, or we run into the garbage, what I'm concerned about is the 200,000 or whatever it ends up costing us being extra up much more, because we've run into something that we didn't understand was down there. And then not only do you lose the feel for the season, then can we afford to fix it? So that's my concern. I guess this is like a renovation job, right? You don't know what you're gonna get into until you get into it, but I'd hate to lose a field. Do you think maybe we could do a temporary fix, then pull the stumps out after the season? Just a thought. Grade it off and then come in so we don't lose the feel for the season potentially.
The guy that you spoke with, if
His
they,
name is Jason Avancic. He's with the Department of Environmental Services Solid Waste Division.
so what did he say if we did this and we come into garbage? Did he?
We have to just get rid of it at a landfill. We'd have to.
That's
pay,
it?
we'd
That's
have to pay to get rid of it.
nothing special or nothing like that? Just pull it up and.
Bring it to a landfill instead of the pit.
The
It would
thing
be
is, when they did the testing, they went down, what is it, 10
We
to
down
15
10
feet?
to 15 feet and found all those stumps, and there was no trash that we could see.
Is that how far down you would have to go to fix everything? No
We
further,
think.
probably?
We think.
Okay.
And again, this is a test pit in one spot. We didn't dig the whole thing up, so we're basing this off of that information.
Mark?
As in the report, and I don't know whether it looked into that, if this were my yard, and it is, I have had rotting stumps in my yard, basically I just get a couple yards of loam, just put it on in it, after it's 6 or 7 years, it sinks down. I'm looking at that $200,000, not certain how it breaks down. I'm wondering if there's a more cost-effective way of having a safe, playable field by filling in the holes as they appear, similar to, the potholes in my road as they appear year after year as stumps right under my road. They just put more asphalt.
So athletic fields are built specially. You don't want to keep piling, and we found a lot of loam there when we first dug down, probably about 2 feet, so it looks like somebody had been doing this. But when you start packing loam on top of loam, it just becomes a mud pit. It doesn't allow the soil to drain. You have to have sand underneath your athletic fields. That's how you build an athletic field.
No.
So you can do that, and it is a cheap way to do it, but as you guys know, I don't like to do things cheaply. I like to do things right. And the right way to do it is dig it out, put a sub base in it, compact it the way it's supposed to be, and then top it with soil, loam, and then we're gonna use thick cut sod so it can be played upon the same season.
Justin, I think did you wanna make a comment? Okay, I'm gonna do Kristen and then Jack.
So my concern with that is if we just do that and we patch it and we know that these pockets are under there, and you have some kids out there playing and all of a sudden it does sink or something happens and some kid twists his knee and whatever, we know we have an issue with those fields and they have the potential to do this,
So
and that becomes a concern. So I mean,
So
how many times are you just gonna keep patching it and bring people in to do parts? So I'm of the mindset to do it and do it right.
Jack and then Mark, were you gonna make a comment?
my recommendation, and I agree, you can't put 3 feet of loam because that's just gonna sink into money and it's gonna be terrible, right? So what I would recommend, because I think it's a cheap fix, is to do the cheap temporary fix with the understanding it's temporary. And after this, to get us by the season, and then after the season, go in and fix it the right way. Because if we do run into something extra or an unknown, we then have the time to deal with it, not losing the entire season. If we dig that up and find out it's more extensive than we think, we'll not only lose a season, but we'll spend more money than we thought we were going to spend. So I'd be up for a temporary fix. I understand what you're saying, Mark. You would like just grade that off with loam. I think you do with the loam and gravel. I know, Carl, you know better than me. But I do the temporary fix with the sod and then come back and rectify the situation for good after the season. That's
So-
just me.
If that's the case, I'd like to move that we keep this money here because after the season, we'd be doing it this summer.
Well, I agree.
So then on top of that, I'll need approximately $50,000 to do a temporary fix on top.
Kristen, did you have a comment?
No, I have a question, comment on something else, but.
You had a lot of trees that were cut, that was all woods back there.
That was all woods there
Yeah,
and
and
they
that
hired a contractor to come in and instead of hauling it off, which was the right
Plowed
way
it
to do
down
it, they
and
buried them right there.
That was all the way up almost to the high school. And between the high school and middle school, a lot of woods there.
Carl, if we approve this tonight, when would this project start?
We have excavators on site right now. I'm sure they'd love to leave them here and just start working on it.
And how long would it take?
If everything goes to plan, how long would it take to complete
2 to
it?
3 weeks.
So if you ran into trash, that would add on maybe another week or two.
Another week and an added expense just to get rid of the trash.
And then you'd be putting sod on top so it's playable for the year.
We'd be putting thick cut sod so it's playable, yes.
So
It's
the
not a football
season's not going to start for 2 weeks. And all of the teams have a week somewhere off-site, I believe, scheduled right now, so that they don't have to be on the current fields for their tryouts. So that would give you 3 weeks' time to do that.
Now, I don't know how fast I can get the temporary fix up here either, cause that's hiring a company to come in and rip the loam off, put some sod back on top of it and flatten it out, and that's a specialty company.
Games don't start until April 8th, so that's over a month away. Go ahead, Mark.
So I'm glad you bookmarked it, that $200,000 estimate, is that based on
Based on
bids?
finding 50 by 75, 150 by 75 feet, digging down 10 to 15 feet. Taking all the stuff out.
Digging down 10 to 15 feet. So you're trying to essentially remove the stumps.
Yes, we don't want them to keep
Yeah,
rotting
yeah.
underneath.
Yeah, it's removing all
We
of
had to
it.
do this in a parking lot at Sandown Central, they dumped a bunch
Yeah,
of stuff.
oh, I
into
remember
the
that,
back.
I do remember
It's
that.
the
So
same thing, it'll keep sinking and get worse and worse, cause they're gonna,
is that a Busby quote or?
that's a Busby.
Kristen, you had something else to say, I'm sorry.
No,
You got
I'm
cut
just,
off.
I'm looking at the schedule and I mean, he legitimately has a month to get it up and running before games start. And if you even have games in the first week or two, if it takes a little longer, you have the time to either reschedule a game or try to go to a different.
Do we have anyone
So-
with local knowledge? You always talk about the guys that go hung out back there. Could tell us exactly, I mean, I can think of 2 guys that talk about back there all the time.
Does
so
it
you know,
matter? I mean, we know we have a problem, we know we have stumps, it doesn't matter
Well,
what
how
happened back
extensive
there.
it is, if there's any garbage out there. I'm just afraid we're gonna run into more than what we
I do
thought.
wanna say something, we have a good relationship with Busby, and I had a discussion with him about this supposed landfill dump back there. He went to school here, his father has been digging on this property for years and they've never found trash. The only place they haven't dug on this property is the varsity soccer field, so I'm saying if the dump is here, it's right there. That's gonna be my guess, cause he says he's dug here for, I mean, we dig and we find glass every once in a while, and we dig and we find there's tires out in the woods now that we've cleared some of the trees back there, that you can see tires and stuff that have been thrown out there, but we haven't found anything indicative that it would have said that this was the main town landfill at any given time. It's just, we haven't seen it.
Bree,
Phil could probably
Bree.
get you a few people to tell you more, but
Bree first, and then.
I was just wondering, does CIP have your proposed project budget money? now? Like, is that within our budget?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and is there any excess in case we run into an issue?
The projected projects that you see right here bring you to $1.8 million, which is the line in the budget.
That's the line. Okay.
Would there be an opportunity to look other areas of the budget if things came up that we needed to kind of address? That's kind of the stage that we would go at. Just to give an analogy to the board to talk about, and we talked about boilers at Pollard earlier today. Wasn't here 5 years ago when they were installed. My assumption it was kind of quick and fly and on the fix. And now we're dealing with a problem because we didn't do it right.
We just replaced the ones in the high school and it was $950,000.
And that's for 3. We'd probably be replacing it 2. About that size?
I
2
don't,
boilers?
I haven't spent much time in that boiler.
We'd probably only have to use 2 boilers. There'd be bigger boilers, but better boilers, and it would be designed. So I'd say probably 3/4, maybe half to 3/4.
Carl, the high school canopy, that's not actually the replacement. The description says can be a replacement. That would not be to replace it, it would just be to make it
safe.
$27,000 and some change. I can take down the canopy, just the concrete.
Okay.
And leave the arches. I'm adding more money because we're looking at designing something that will sit on top of those arches the way they sit. Some sort of an awning or something that would also help to cover the unsightly HVAC equipment on the roof, although it's all gonna be shiny and new next year. But and also accentuate the front entrance. I've asked for some architectural pricing and stuff like that, so that would be included in that.
Would that be a
I don't know how much it will cost. These are just very rough estimates.
So basically 100,000 is in a hold for that to see if you can try to do something for that amount. Would that be a temporary thing or are you looking for a long
I'm
term?
looking for a long term.
In that dollar figure, we're attempting to consult that we would get this, we would keep the structure. We'd make it safe, and then we'd hopefully still provide cover for kids if they needed something outside.
Okay.
Right. And then if we need to make it bigger, we
Go Home Depot, buy a few blue tarps. Buy them on down.
That's not the right way to do things.
Sounds like a
Chris.
fix on the quick.
Build a second floor and
If I might say, I want to add something to the savings of the football field lights. The savings obviously don't seem as much because those lights get only used in the fall, mostly in the fall when we have the football games. So obviously when you say, oh my God, $50,000 in 20 years, well, it's because they only get used, 10 games a year, so obviously a savings.
Our 10 games with the little Warriors, or I'm sorry, the little Tornadoes. No, the
Yes, tornadoes.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, too many. So the Tornadoes use them almost every weekend as well, so it's
But
not
it's
just
only
us,
during the
it's
season,
communities.
so it's not something that is used every day like the whole day.
But I'm hoping if we do this, as you stated, Justin, people use
Lacrosse
it.
would
That,
be-
I mean, like you have lacrosse that plays out there and we aren't allowed to have night games. It would be nice to have some night games if we're gonna have the lights, things like that. But like you said, track, with the track out there, plenty of track meets I'm at.
Yep.
And if those
They
lights
run
they're
Yeah.
coming on by the end of every meet. You can't get through a whole track meet without the lights, so. Jack,
I have a question for you. Why can't we have
That's
lacrosse
another
game
discussion.
under the lights?
It's another discussion.
discussion.
Okay.
So, I believe we kicked this horse pretty hard. So we need to make a decision. If we want to go ahead and approve this list, or if we want to wait.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the list as presented to us tonight so that these projects can get moved forward.
We've got a motion, do I have a second? Second by Bree. Any other discussion? Jack?
I am really asking this board to wait a week to look at what the construction committee comes up with that falls outside of what's not on this list, but is crucial and structural. And in the scheme of things, maybe more, yeah, all these things are nice to have. I mean, I agree with the baseball field. It needs to be fixed. That's, to me, a safety issue. right? We got no other place to put the kids. But outside of that one item, there is no reason why we cannot wait a week, because there's nothing on here that is crucial. And if we come up with something that is more pressing, I think it's prudent for us to wait.
So I'm gonna say something and I'll let Mark. What's the objective of the construction committee?
What we really do is the objective of the construction committee is we kind of go through the CIP stuff, the stuff that's on. In other words, we were very instrumental, that committee was very instrumental in discussing and venting out the windows, the replacement of the windows. We look at things more from a constructural standpoint than we do from a want standpoint. And although these things are wants, I can tell you, some of our buildings are leaking like sieves right now. There are other things that are structural in nature that I have concerns about. Let's address them in that meeting, because it's, that group tends to be a little bit more focused and have a little bit more of a background in these areas. And then if they say, hey, we're all set, or we need 100 or 200,000 to do this. I mean, we have walls that are in disrepair right now, masonry that's in disrepair right now. To me, just my opinion, it's more important than some of the things on the list. It's not that the things on the list aren't important. And quite frankly, I've never, and I haven't missed a construction meeting, and I pretty much am the chair of that meeting, I've never seen any of these things come before the construction committee. So they should have a chance to vent that out.
So the point of the construction committee was only for projects for the lease.
Yeah.
That was it.
Right.
No,
It was, yes,
Yes,
it was. It was only
The
for the
construction committee
lease.
was created solely to oversee the
Okay,
lease
so
and how
when we
the
run
lease
out
was
of money and we
managed.
can't fix something that's broken, we've dealt with a whole bunch of things. With the windows on the lease,
It was part of
it's coming
energy,
out of the lease money, but we've flipped things off the lease onto CIP and back and forth
but
consistently.
This is CIP, this is not under, this
it's not
is
construction.
Well, I
CIP,
know how-
it's
I know
not under
how-
the lease.
You don't lose anything by letting them take a run at it one time, and maybe you find something that's important. You're shaking your head no, but it's just a week. So we all have a right to our own votes and our own opinions.
I have a follow-up question that may address some of what I think your concerns are. With the work that EEI is doing, they're doing the roof stuff. Are any of the siding issues that I know you're aware of part of that, where there is water intrusion? Is that, no? Okay.
Roofing, HVAC, boilers, those are our priorities right now. Siding isn't the top priorities in that.
CIP, excuse me, CIP.
Check, 1 second.
Okay, go ahead.
Where does that where does that stand on the pecking order for you? How is that going to be addressed? Because I think if it's going to be addressed, that would allay some of the concerns that other members have.
It's not high on the CIP list, and it's not high on the lease list, because the lease list was addressing boilers, stuff that can shut down the buildings and roofs. I don't know of too many siding issues that are causing water infiltration into the building. We have some issues around windows that we are addressing since we've got a fully staffed maintenance crew. They've been caulking them as they go through the building, so there's a couple holes in the wall down at the middle school, but there's a water membrane behind it, there's a water barrier behind it that shouldn't be causing anything, and they weep out the bottom, so I don't know what water infiltration you're talking about in the siding. To be more specific, I'd look into it.
Yeah, we can talk.
Justin.
And just kind of also to give an update for the board that we have still maintain a whole lot of open and vacant positions and unfilled positions. So there is money in our budget that is dedicated to that staff, and this is not the ideal way to work. But if there was something, Jack, to your concern or concerns of other members here that needed to be addressed, there may be areas of the budget that we could get to in an easier fashion and not impact the daily operation of any buildings for staff or kids.
So let me just say this, the CIP again is being utilized as the list of things to be done. CIP was put together by the Shermans, myself, as a way of not forgetting things that they were wishes, they were wants, put together by department heads, by administrators that come in and write this stuff up here. They are merely recommendations to the board, and it's kind of a filing cabinet. And they move things up year over year, and sometimes something may be moved forward a little bit more because of the urgency or lack of urgency. But you don't say that this is the list of what we need to do. It is something that we present to the board. I'm in total concurrence with the baseball field for the reasons I stated. I believe that that should be a temporary fix, and then we can go in and do it right after the season. I'm asking for a week to make sure we dot our i's and cross our t's. There are things in here that I would love to have, but they're not necessary.
But it's gonna be 2 weeks. It won't be a week.
Well,
It'll-
do it 2 weeks.
It'll be 2 weeks and the baseball season will be underway.
Well, I'm saying,
And we would-
I'd approve the baseball thing tonight. I have no problem doing that.
But the point is that construction committee is not CIP, and that was not the purpose of it. And though if we approve this tonight, at any point in time, this can change, correct? So a motion has been made, we beat this horse to death, motion's been made, it has been seconded. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? And abstained. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 1 abstention, 2 against, so it passes. Okay, thank you guys.
Katie, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah,
about this?
absolutely, go ahead.
When we look at the things that come from the CIP.
Yep.
When we do things with CNA or policy, they come to the board for a first and second read.
Mhm.
Is there a way to do that for these things?
That'd be a good idea. That's a great idea.
So that we have a minute to digest what we're looking at and, you know, so they don't come like, I know that this, the baseball the baseball field is kind of like, we need to do that quick. But I would love to have been able to ask questions about some of the other things. And I think it would be a good idea to maybe for the board to be able to digest something before we have to act on it as quickly.
I think that's a really good idea. That would actually probably help alleviate some of
That's what it just said.
some of the stuff, so.
So just so you know, the regular process with the CIP is like that. So we present the projects, then you guys take your time, like we did with the 25 from like 2 months ago with the 25 projects. We present them, then you guys look at them, take your time, ask questions. This is because it's just this current year, we just have 3 months to end the year. And we still had some funds. So this is not the regular process for the CIP. A regular process for the CIP is presented in advance, then you guys can look at it, ask any questions, and things get in and off of the list as you guys decide to approve or not approve. So that's the regular process of the CIP.
And part of the process happened is because we did the lease and we took a lot of stuff that was gonna be done in the CIP and moved it to the lease, so we had an opening to fill, and that's why things got moved up.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's so much that needs to be done, and I'm not disagreeing with anything on your list, and I know the work that goes into committees, and I know the work that goes into, you know, what Jack sits at the construction and the CIP and what you guys look at every single day. I know that what you put in front of us right now you put a lot of thought into that, and by no means am I gonna take anything away from that. That said, I would like to have seen this list a little while ago, just so that I can, that's all. So, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Administrator's report.
I think I'm gonna start off. So I had several things to bring to you, because it's been a little while since we've met. Tried to narrow it down to just 3 primary ones. So a couple highlights of events that happened back in February. Something that we're hoping we'll be able to bring some student representation to talk to you a little bit about in the near future. Our students in the accelerated anatomy and physiology course with Ms. Beltran just completed the BioTrek program. So essentially, this is a partnership between our high school and Advanced Regenerative Manufacturing Institute, BioFab in Manchester. So that organization partners with educators, and they bring professionals to the schools to work with the students and the teacher to explore biofabricated solutions to health issues. So the students work in teams and present projects to professionals from Army, and they vote on a winner, and then that team from Timberlane will compete in the Advanced Biomanufacturing and Entrepreneurship Championship in May. So it's a really great program. Justin and I were able to go see those presentations last spring. The first time that we did it was last year. So we're hoping to maybe bring them here to talk to you a little bit about that program. So that was really positive. Also back in February, our Timberlane Fiddlers had an opportunity to perform to the New Hampshire Executive Council in Concord at the State House. So they were introduced by Governor Chris Sununu. They performed 3 songs and were very well received. So congratulations to those students and to Director Sam Lyons, who put together the Timberlane Fiddlers not too long ago. I think it was probably, this might be year 3. He's our orchestra teacher and director, and the Fiddlers have just taken flight. It's a fairly new program, and there's a lot of really great participation. We're proud of them. And then finally, I know at a last board meeting, there were some questions around how we monitor changes in legislation and RSA, things that happen. So it's an ongoing process for us as a district. Wanted to kind of let you all know that part of that is that Justin and I occasionally have opportunities to attend state level meetings that have a focus on legislation. So back on February 7th, I did attend one of those state level meetings. The Commissioner of Education was part of that. He attended. We were able to look at some primary priorities that pertain to education in different categories, to be able to kind of do roundtable discussions about what those RSAs are about, when they're going to be debated on the floor of the House, and the potential impact on school districts. So this particular session was really about bills that are being debated right now that have not yet been passed, but it was a way to look at things in advance and start thinking about, should these bills pass, how do we then on our end start planning and preparing for any necessary policy changes and changes to our practices with our students. So that's a regular practice, but because you had asked about that, I just wanted to let you know that happened recently as well. So awesome. Thank you so much.
You also heard tonight through the personnel report that we have 2 new special education teachers starting at the high school. So it's a good opportunity just to recognize the work of Kelly Brooks, the Director of Special Education, and her team.
Thank you, Kelly.
Addition to that, she's also getting creative, but also thinking about high quality. Signed 2 contracts today to bring on 2 school psychologists, and they're going to work virtually for us, and they're going to be able to prep teams on this stuff. They're going to be able to evaluate students. They're going to be able to attend those team meetings, and they've kind of part of that contract is that they continue with that family through that entire process. So it's not a different person at the table. So lots of really good things that can also offset the people that are in person here that can pick up some service and stuff for kids. So Kelly, thank you for your work and your continued efforts there. Jack, I'm going to get to the RFP piece at the end here, okay?
You don't have to explain yourself. You're the superintendent.
Want to talk about get the let out. Carl had alluded to that piece, and as did Bree earlier as mom. We just finished our round 3 of testing, so all of our postings are throughout the district. I wanted to encourage anybody, if they had questions, concerns, clarifications, they can reach here to the superintendent's office, and we can direct them to either our personnel here in the district or some really good, robust resources on the Get the Let Out website that they could look and see what we're doing. But we wanted to assure everybody that those things that can't be consumed have been labeled and marked and mitigating factors in that way. And for those things that are hand washing only, that's also something. And the things that need to be shut down are shut down. Other piece I want to bring up is that we had, as Sandy alluded to, we hadn't met since February. We had the deliberative on February 8th, and the ballots were delivered to the district clerk on February 9th. I wanted to remind the board that I kind of peppered you guys with emails over the last few weeks around the question of what do students get in this budget. It was a question that I think is really profound, and it was at deliberative and posted by the community. I've given all of you 10 things that I think students get in this budget, and I hope that they're helpful for you. If you're getting asked those questions in the community, that you've got responses of what kids get in the budget. Also want to remind the board that you've got access to the budget to actual reports on a monthly basis. You can find them on the school district's website. If you needed the navigation again, it's the committee tab, it's the budget committee, and it's the tab for financial documents. They're posted there monthly. We're going to start bringing them here to our meetings as well. And Not lastly yet, but getting to also the big conversation and the leadership team right now is really about starting to talk about staffing for next year. And it is a complicated and challenging process, but wanted to let you know that we've begun that. And it really takes into consideration about looking at open positions, looking at vacant positions, looking at the expertise of our staff, looking at our program models, looking how we want to put people in the best situations to succeed in those performance areas, but also our student enrollment. So we've got a process now where we're going to have some discussions with senior leadership next week. Then we'll start rolling out to the individual departments and schools. Contractual date typically for most employees is April 15th. So that's kind of like the drop dead time that we've got to have those decisions made. So we are working toward that end now. 2 updates on RFP processes. The first is that we had just put out an RFP for paving. There was a mandatory walkthrough on February 25th. We had 3 companies attend that walkthrough: GMI, R&D, and Busby. There was an addendum based on some questions and some of the dimensions pieces that they wanted to do, so that's now posted as well. That will close on the 19th at 1 p.m. So we'll be back in front of you and kind of make a recommendation for the bids that we collect and hopefully making a selection that way. The second RFP process to comment on is, yes, Jack, you are correct. The board did vote to put out an RFP for grass cutting. It was in June of 2023. As an oversight on my part, I have not moved on that, and I will move on that immediately now.
So,
Jack.
so to that point, Mr. Superintendent, I said that to be funny. I guess I'm not funny. Will that encompass all the campuses across the board? Because as I read through the reports, there seems to be some. I mean, we have 200 Canadian geese that make their home here every spring and every fall. Some of the concerns I think are, you know, I mean, if we are fortunate enough to have our kids get in a playoff game, you know, on a Saturday, we can cut the grass on a Friday. We have tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment out here. And I would like to see it be all encompassing. The challenge that you're going to have with this RFP, it is now March, right? I think that most of these companies are probably fully scheduled. And I think we did it back in June, we took a vote on it, and I think we revisited it in the winter. I'm not here to point fingers, I'm just saying, I think the big challenge now is going to find anyone that is willing to step up to the plate this late in the game. But my whole reason for we did it once before, my whole reason for introducing it is I would rather have someone cutting the grass for $15, $16 an hour than whatever we pay our folks plus benefits, and they can be a better value to the
understand the
district. I mean,
timing.
this is all for me, this is all about the money.
I understand the timing is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
I also want to reiterate it's an oversight on my part.
Like I said, I'm not here to point fingers, but it's about getting the job done.
All right, did you have anything else
I
that
do
you
not.
want to report? Okay. All right, personnel report, we did make those motions to accept those nominations. Fran, did you have anything that you wanted to add? We do have the vacancy report in front of us. We just thank you guys for your continued work to get us good qualified people, and it's really appreciated. And does anybody have any questions for Fran? Okay. Committee reports, I'm gonna start with Bree.
Nothing new.
Nothing?
We had CNA on Tuesday, but I'm not prepared to report on that. I need to get with Sandy one more time, so.
No worries.
I'll let you know next time.
Nothing, but this coming Wednesday, I will have the pleasure of reading to the 3rd grade at Sandown North.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Policy committee met today. I just counted. We reviewed 11 policies. A lot of really great work, a lot of really good conversation, really leaning into and relying on other experts in the district. So some of them will be coming forward to the board. A lot of them are going back to the folks in the district that can answer some of our different additional concerns and questions. That's been a really successful part of our committee, which I want to applaud all of the other people that are not on the committee that help and support us in writing policies that affect faculty and staff and students. So next board meeting, we will have, from what I believe, at least 3 coming through for a first read, and in April, one that will be coming through for a first and second read based on schedules and timelines. So
I got a question for Shauna. Shauna, you said you have people come in from the community to participate?
not the community.
Oh, okay, then I
No,
misunderstood.
so the committee, sorry if
Yeah.
I'm lacking sleep this week. No, so our committee reviews policies, and then when we determine that there is someone else in the district that may be able to incite
When you said
better
in the
communication
district, I
or
thought-
wisdom towards this policy because it relates to their job role or a procedure that they're following, our committee has been reaching out to them.
Cool.
Sorry,
Well, that's
marble
okay.
mouth tonight.
No, that's cool. When you said district, I just thought you meant anyone in the
Oh,
community.
yes, no.
Okay.
Different
Great.
implication,
Very
but that's it. And wellness committee has a meeting upcoming in April.
Yeah, so I was with the policy with Shauna today, and we do have several coming forward, one of them being DJE, which is the bidding requirements. We talked extensively about that today. Safety is meeting, I think within the next week or two. Other than that, yeah, the 19th. Other than that, that's all I have, Kristen.
No, we also met with safety since the last meeting on the 13th.
Yeah.
And had that meeting, everything's going good with safety and lots of good ideas, the SRO officers.
Yep.
Working out, doing what we're doing, the alternatives for that, well, we're hoping that we'll have somebody full-time, one person in place for next year, but right now, the solution that they've come up with is working out great. Students and staff are happy. Again, we meet on the 19th again, and facilities meets on the 19th, and I just want to reiterate, athletics, all the kids, the tryouts start March 18th, so good luck to all the spring athletes as they jump into that before our next meeting, and I'm going to go on what Armand said, and Project Hope, the Start for a Cure is this Saturday. If you haven't been, highly recommend it. It's a great event. It's $5 to get in, and raffle tickets are, I think, $5 for $5, 11 for 10, arm's length for 20, tons of great raffles. There is a junior parking spot. So any sophomores, they can put in for the junior parking spot. There's just scratch tickets, everything, tons and tons and tons of great raffles, but it's all for a great cause. You're helping the one spot, but it's a guaranteed spot for a junior. It is worth it. It's like, it's always the bag that's just like overflowingly full, but you can win. I mean, people win, somebody wins. So it's a great thing, but such a great event. The kids work so hard to do it. The staff does. Everyone comes together. Fun night. Great cause again for the community. So if you have nothing else going on Saturday, show your support to them.
Done?
Well, we have a big day coming up next week for the district with voting for everything that we've been developing for the past months, meeting with different towns. Have spoken with people around the district. There's a lot of buzz about teacher support. The budget process. Some decisions to make about whether default or going for the budget. But I just encourage everybody to think about wonderful presentations we've had from kids and how much school means to them, how much their teachers mean to them, and how invested we all are in the future of this district, which I think starts with that vote.
Jack? Any other business? We will be having a non-public here in a few minutes, but does anybody have any other business before we go into it? Okay. Again, this is our last meeting before the vote, and fortunately, all the members that are up are running, I believe, unopposed, so see you all back in afterwards.
It could be close.
All right.
Writing campaign.
I know.
You gotta work on your signage, don't
Linda, do we have any other delegates or individuals? I mean, to speak. Okay, seeing that there is none, Shauna, will you make the motion?
Make a motion to go into non-public under 91-A:3 subparagraph A.
A motion, do I have a second? Second by Kristen. Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Jack Sapia.
Yes.
John Woodworth.
Yes.
Kristen Savage.
Yes.
Katie Newton.
Yes.
Tony Mantle.
Yes.
Mark Sherwood.
Yes.
Kim McCormick. And Bree Woodruff.
Yes. Thank you, guys. We will not be back other than just to seal the minutes. Have a good evening.